It should be recording.
Thank you all for coming, I appreciate it. I'd like to play you a little thing that we put together just for this occasion. We heard that Chris's favorite song was Crazy Train by Ozzy, so that's what you're going to hear in the background. And I took, over the 3 years that they were here, I took something like 55 pictures of Chris with individual and group and everything else. So we just kind of went through and put together this little thing, and of course we'll have a copy for you on a thumb drive. Okay?
Ready?
Yep, Dave, go ahead.
Did you turn the music on?
No, I didn't.
Is it on use?
No, it's not on mute. Should be gone.
Excuse me.
There it is.
It's a good song. Isn't it? Can you hear it in the back?
Bad of that.
No, it's just somber. Adam never smiles in photos, ever.
Really?
Yeah.
He must be Klingon.
It took me a long time.
Or Mockless smile.
To learn to keep
Or
my eyes
Mockless.
open or bring my eyes open when the flash goes off. Freddie would get me all the time for that.
Klingons took the bonus of strength. Mockless took the bonus to constitution.
I kept telling Diane, man, I want to start wearing it. And she said, yeah, well. I said, well, let's get off this.
Ready, you're the password?
I had one for a while. They lost it when our place burned down. Class. The science center.
Oh, look, there's purple back then.
In that day, so.
Oh, we found that bear. That was so funny.
Looks like he wants Chris's dinner. And so does Lisa.
They're coming too late. Lisa looks so excited here.
Chris started joking, Lisa missed it.
Like, really?
It's a good photo.
Freddie gets that reaction when he comes around the camera every now and then.
He was always trying to come up with funny faces when Freddie would take a picture.
That's one of my favorite pictures right there.
You look like you enjoy doing that one.
Oh, yeah. had to have been talking politics. Had to have. Either games or politics.
Yep.
Too.
Russell has graciously agreed to conduct a service. So, Russell?
Remain standing. Well, I appreciate everyone coming as well.
Would you like to sit on one of those tall stools?
Yeah, that would help some. Thank you very much. I'm not getting any younger, unfortunately, and my medication tends to do some strange things.
Well, we do strange things anyway, so.
I appreciate it. Chris, I'm just going to say it straight out. As far as I'm concerned, Chris went way before his time. We were always told on many occasions by lots of different people that we never know the date or the time of our calling to step aboard the great galaxy bird of the sky. Chris's time came on the 1st of December, and I'm thankful that he went quietly in his sleep. That's the way I tell Diane, that's the way I always would want to go when my time comes. I would like to read at this time just a little bit of something here that kind of, it actually does remind me of Chris, because he was special in his own way, and it comes from the scriptures, and they say, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see their Creator. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of the Creator. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye, when those shall rival you or persecute you or say any manner of bad things against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets which were before you." I was noting some little notes here, and one of the little notes here that I found very thoughtful was a definition here of what it was talking about when it said bless. It said here the word bless means more than just happy, because happiness is simply an emotion that is often dependent on outer circumstances. Here, blessed actually refers to an ultimate well-being and a distinctive joy for those who are sharing in that joy in the kingdom of their Creator. Chris was a special person. I really, a lot of times we see each other and we go places together and we get involved in different activities and we just do our little mannerisms of fellowship and such, but you get to know somebody a little bit more when you recognize some of the things that they do that are outside the limits of just all those things I mentioned before. And for me, that's when I found out about the the situation that occurred at our summit when they were having a gathering on Saturday night, I think it was, and Chris went out of his way to assist in helping those that, shall we say, were not completely sober. And that was noted. That was noted by somebody else, and he received I can't even remember what to call those things now. An Order of Merit. He received an Order of Merit certificate
And Scott
From
lost
s-
something too, didn't he?
yeah. from Starfleet for his actions there, and that makes you, when somebody gets something like that, it makes you think, this person is special in his own little way because he went out of his way to do something for somebody else that he may, and I know the individual that he helped, and that he didn't know him, but I did, and I understand the circumstances that were involved. Chris worked at Jason's Deli, loved his job, and for the most part, everybody that he worked with. He loved politics and talking about it, in fact, debating about it in some cases, which is fine. And any conversation that he had was one that he could bring around to have a political point, even if the topic it wasn't politics. And there's nothing wrong with that either. He loved life, whether it was good or bad, and that's a good trait in an individual. Always thought about others. At the meetups, you could always find him in conversation with either Todd or Michael or Zachary or anyone around him. Really, he'd help you with a conversation at the drop of a hat. Very outgoing individual. Loved video games and anime, and loved reading nonfiction equally as much. From what I understand, he always loved learning new things and researching anything that caught his interest. Through his friend Adam, he found a love of home, brewing, and had in fact just received a Christmas gift at one time of fresh supplies from Adam, and was debating what he was going to brew up with him at the time of his passing. A little mischievous too, from what I understand. Loved driving, sometimes too fast, don't we all? But all the same, it was something that he really enjoyed. Taking trips to Pine Mountain, and a lengthy road trip, once even to Michigan. I'm told that he once had some trouble when he hit the Hiawatha Forest in Upper Peninsula, which was kind of a really funny but not too surprising when it does tend to be monstrous for a good stretch, and ended up stopping along the way a few times so that he could get a break. But Lisa and Chris were planning another trip in the lower part of Michigan for the spring or early summer of next year, and he was looking forward to that. Loved his family, his sisters and his brothers. Didn't get along with them all the time, as siblings will do from time to time, but he loved them just the same, and was always wondering how they were doing, and telling stories of when they were kids. This is something I don't even know a whole lot about, but he was a big believer in equivalent exchange, okay, where to get something you had to give something in return, and it was a main governor in most of the decisions in his life. Interesting. One of his favorite things to study was Eastern philosophy. That's a good subject. I know a couple other people that do the same. And he took a lot of Eastern principles to heart as well. Always a respectful individual. They'd be sitting around the living room doing some things online, and Chris would suddenly pop up from his resting position with something that he had found that Lisa loved, or some political factoid, or a joke even, and he always wanted Lisa to laugh. They as couples would do, they argued from time to time, but they'd always end up in the evening laughing. Good to have you. The night of his passing, they were talking about going out to run some errands the next day, laughing over how much tape that Lisa used on Adam's gifts. In fact, it was a whole roll. And discussing what type of gag gift they were going to bring for our gag exchange this year. And they were really looking forward to that event this year. All in all, Chris was an amazing person, and I couldn't agree with that more. I want to end the speaking this part of it here with a quote that I think you'll kind of like, a quote from a Next Generation episode where the gentleman, the professor that claimed to be Data's grandfather passed away, and Data was in it. He placed his being inside of Data, and when Data was doing the funeral, he said, to know him was to love him, and to love him was to know him. That I really do believe that applies to Chris. So at this time, that completes my portion. I would like to open it up to anyone. You can either stand or from wherever you are, come up and speak about him, or anything you might want to say on behalf of Lisa and Chris's life. So the floor is yours. Hang on, am I going to say anything?
Yeah, I got. Y'all all read this in the newsletter, because this is actually part of my article. But I thought I'd share it with you now. It may go through a few changes, but I'll just read it to you. This is one of the saddest pilot articles I've had to write in quite a while. One of our own, Chris Johnson, passed away in his sleep on 1 December due to an arterial blockage. He was 35. Chris, along with Lisa and Adam, joined the Da Vinci in 2015 after Connie and I went to their garage sale. I believe I was wearing a sci-fi type shirt, and of course one thing led to another, and soon they were not only Da Vinci members, but members of Starfleet as well. Their first appearance at a Da Vinci event was the June Night Out membership meeting at Stevie B's. They sat at a separate table, only speaking amongst themselves, as if to check out the rest of the crew to make sure they had made the right decision. From then on, you could barely keep them away. I suppose the first thing you noticed about Chris was his bandana, which he seemed to wear at every occasion. It was not just one color either. In fact, of the 50 plus pictures I took of Chris, only in one was he not wearing something on his head. I'm not quite sure how many he had, but he seemed to wear a different color or style at every event. It suited him, and I may not have recognized him without it. The second thing you would notice about Chris is he seemed to know a little bit, maybe even more, about nearly everything. He could talk history, art, politics, biology, astronomy, and of course science fiction and fantasy. And do not let him begin talking about gaming. He could go on for hours, and sometimes he did. Another thing you noticed about Chris is how much he loved Lisa, his companion, his lover, and his best friend for the past 9 years. I cannot think of a time when only one of them came to a Da Vinci event. You could tell by just watching them how much they cared for each other. It was unmistakable. They were a couple. Had it not been for Chris's early passing, they would have been a couple for many years to come. I will miss Chris. The Da Vinci has lost a gentleman and a friend. I hereby command the running lights of the USS Da Vinci to be dimmed until further notice. Rest in peace, my friend.
That's wonderful. You have anything? So when heading around the park, turn the lights low.
Yeah.
That is one thing I did notice about Chris. He and I would disagree sometimes, but I can always count his arguments being well thought out every single time.
I'd like to say something real quick, come around over there. I would have liked to have my Marines here to do a formal ceremony before you, but we'd like to do Chris a last salute. You know, the Apostle Paul told the first century Christians. He said that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And, you know, I've seen a lot of my friends pass away in the last couple of years. And, you know, it always is a shock. You know, you don't expect it. And that was just like Chris. You know, when I heard the news, I was just shocked. I didn't know how to say it, what to say, what to do, how to react. I didn't know Chris very well, because a lot of you know I've been lost in the Delta Quadrant for the last couple of years. But, you know, I remember at the Region 2 Summit, you know, Chris went out of his way to help some folks who had a little bit too much. And I remember Freddie telling me about that. And I can't remember who it was, that somebody lost something.
Scott, I believe, lost a pin,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it?
Yeah, and Chris found it, and he went out of his way to come down there to be Merrill's where we were eating lunch that day to bring it to him. And you know, we tried to get him to have lunch, but he didn't want to have lunch with us. But I thought it was just special that he went out of his way just to come down there to bring that lost item. And I remember telling Freddie, I said, you know, we need to do something, you know, some kind of special recognition for him, you know, because he just went out of his way. And, you know, that's what I saw about Chris. And, you know, he would go out of his way to help somebody. And if he didn't know you, he talked to you anyway, especially when you knew something about politics and gaming. But yeah, Chris was a really good guy. And, you know, he impressed me at Region 2 when I saw that. And, you know, I think that's, you know, kind of the spirit of Starfleet. He showed the spirit of Starfleet because, you know, it's not just a club to me. You guys are family. Everybody's family. And I would do anything for y'all just like Chris would have done. And, you know, me and my mom, we come to the meetings and we can be ourselves, you know, because not everybody understands Star Trek. And not everybody understands sci-fi geeks, you know, but we can be ourselves amongst each other. And it's just, you know, it's an escape for me because, you know, I deal with a lot, and I'm sure you guys deal with a lot on, you know, daily basis, you know, jobs, you know, pressure from the outside world. There may be things in your life that are going on, you know, that you experience pressure from, and you need a release. And this is my release when I get together with you guys. And you know, to lose somebody in this club is just, you know, may as well be one of my own flesh and blood relatives passing away, because that's how I feel about it. And everybody here is special to me. You know, if I've known you for a long time, for 20 years, if I've known you for 6 months, you're still my family. And me and my mom would like to say that, you know, Chris was special, and we give our regards to you. And my Marines, some of my Marines wanted to be here today, but because of their jobs they couldn't be. But they also send their regards and their last salute. Thank you.
Anyone? Me.
Despite occupation, I will be brief. For the last several decades, I've used a tagline to go with my writing. And Chris epitomized it. Life's a journey, enjoy the road.
Does anyone else have anything? Okay, if not, then please stick around. There's Still plenty of food, help yourself. And you're from Jason's Deli? Okay, great. There's food in there, please help yourself. Stick around for as long as you want. If you have to go, it's understandable, it's not a problem. You know, Chris isn't around, so we can say all kinds of things about him. But, and you will see a picture in the newsletter of Chris without anything on his head. And he does look really different. He really does. And, as a matter of fact, you're gonna see about over 20 pictures of Chris in the newsletter.
Only one of them without anything.
With anything on top of it. He did wear a hat to one occasion, but he did wear those bandanas. And I'd love to know how many he actually had.
30.
30 bandanas?
One per day
I-
a month?
No,
That's
just
random.
my mom gave him like 10. He bought like 20, and as they wore out, he'd just buy new ones, or I'd buy them for him, or you know.
Here comes what you have it on, and then
Yep.
you know, time of pocket, you take it off, and have it immediately on, in your pocket, and there'd be no downtime.
You didn't ever really see his head or his hair.
Get one of those little.
And I noticed in one picture, he had really long hair, and
He did.
then he got it cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
He got a cut for work.
I didn't see it anymore.
No, it was really long.
It was
legs.
it was like him.
Yeah.
It's still pretty long, so.
I actually didn't
I
watch
can
it out.
I can replay this because, you know, you didn't see it if you'd like to see it.
The
But
one
his
that
hair
was on that he had the, I don't know.
When he was holding the bear, when he was holding the bear.
The hair was coming
That
out.
was his hair that was down to his
Wow.
pocket.
It looked like he had it over his shoulder though.
Yeah,
coming
it-
down
Yeah,
this
he
way.
always kept it in a ponytail,
Yeah.
so that because he didn't like his hair in his eyes, which I thought was kind of funny because he really liked long hair.
And the music you heard in the background was, he really liked J-pop, Japanese pop. And what he really liked is a group called Love Life, which Connie also loves because she plays the Love Life game. So a lot of the songs you hear, she recognizes, but they're longer versions than it's on the game. So
Yeah,
she was quite excited to hear all this.
He used to listen to it when he made deliveries. He'd listen to the CD all the time.
Yeah.
And he actually had his own playlist and he'd end out the song on the final track.
It's all in Japanese, you can't understand it, but it's kind of well, there's a couple where I hear Merry Christmas, so,
Yeah.
I mean, at least I can understand Merry Christmas.
They throw random English words.
But it's random English words here and there, so
Yeah, they
I'll
do that a lot in
put that
Japan.
back on. I'll put that back on.
Japanese, almost like English. We take words that from other languages, use them. Say
But
lovely.
I really do want to say thank you for coming. This is a bigger crowd than I'd really expected, and so it's great that you all came to pay homage to Chris and his life. All right, so please, more food, mingle, do whatever you want to do. And cut.
I hope this turns into working for us. Some more drivers are working.